Greetings and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today we will be covering the gladiator with a stick, Korg, the debuff shrugging, unstoppable and unblockable skill rock boy. We will be breaking down all his abilities and the best ways to defeat him. So let's have a look at Korg's passives. Korg's special rock anatomy provides him with immunity to bleed as well as shock, and he also gains an additional 20% critical resistance. However, this does also decrease his energy resistance by 20%. This means that energy attacks will gain a small damage increase. Not much, but worth noting. Korg has two primary things that make him particularly annoying. The first is on his base kit, but the second is half on his base kit and half requires him to be awakened, and becomes more and more annoying the higher sig he is. The reason they make him such an annoyance on defense is due to just how easily these two things are triggered. Korg's first problem revolves around his crowd excitement charges. When Korg blocks an attack, he gains a charge, and if he parries, he gains 3. Whenever you evade or dex Korg's basic attacks, he also gains 3. Blocking attacks can give Korg a maximum of 6 charges, and dexing his attacks can give him a maximum of 12. They all last for 20 seconds, and have no way to be safely removed. Note that he only gains them from dexing basic attacks, so you can dex his specials freely. We'll be going over those later on. These crowd excitement charges are removed if Korg lands a heavy attack, but not only will you be taking a heavy's worth of damage, but he will also place a large armor break on you, scaling with the number of charges he had. The issue arises when Korg has 6 or more of these crowd excitement charges. At this point, he goes unblockable and unstoppable for 2 seconds, and this re-triggers every time he gains a charge. Realistically, there's not much you can do here apart from run away, but doing that means you may dex an attack again, so the timer restarts. Korg's second annoyance comes from his rock shield. This starts the fight with 9 rock shield charges, which are removed each time he is struck. An additional charge is removed when Korg's dash attack is interrupted by a light attack, and if struck by a special 3, all remaining rock shield charges are removed. When the rock shield is active, your attacks cannot deal more than 40% of your attack rating in a single hit. Special 3 attacks cannot deal more than 120% of your attack rating instead. For simplicity's sake, you can ignore the numbers and just know that while his rock shield is up, your attacks won't be hitting very hard. When all charges are consumed, the rock shield is shattered and it takes between 11 and 15 seconds to reform. Each time the rock shield reforms, it reforms with 1 fewer charges. This does mean in really long fights, Korg's rock shield can effectively be removed, though this does take extremely long fights to do so. Abyss Korg is basically the only place this is going to happen. Maybe a war boss as well, but that could depend on your counter. Whilst this is annoying, it's only really lowering your damage for a couple of combos, and then it goes on cooldown. The issues start when Korg is awakened. While the rock shield is active, striking Korg with a medium attack, a heavy attack, or a special that makes contact will deal you a burst of physical damage. Energy attacks do not trigger this, and mutant attackers take 25% less damage. At high sig, this damage can really hurt, taking off large chunks of your health very quickly. On top of this, Korg has a scaling chance from about 30% to about 70% to purify any debuff applied to him whilst his rock shield is activated, and he gains a rock shield charge every time he does. And there is no cap on the number of charges he can gain this way. This does include stun debuffs from your parries. Korg's specials are in fact nothing special. The special 1 cannot be evaded by evade effects, but can be dexed safely, though it is annoying to do so. It also goes unblockable if Korg has 2 or more crowd excitement charges. The special 2 can gain a large passive fury if he is unblockable and unstoppable when activating it, and can inflict bleeds on hit. The Special 3 provides 9 crowd excitement charges that last the regular 20 seconds, but Special 3s are best avoided anyway. Nothing major here. Korg's Special 2 is fairly simple to avoid, simply retreat, but his Special 1 can be very annoying, combined with its ability to go unblockable very easily, and taking it to the face can become quite a common occurrence. There is, however, a very simple cue that you can use to make dexing it reliable. Watch the foot. That's it. When his foot hits the floor, double dash back, pause for just a moment, and then a third dash back. Give it a try, and you'll be surprised at just how easy this can become. So what do all these abilities add up to? Well, with the wrong counter, we have a defender that is passive damage dealing, debuff shrugging, unstoppable and unblockable, with an increased crit resistance and weakens your hit for a large proportion of the fight. That's a lot. The two major problems here are the damage back and the debuff shrugging. If you can bypass one of these, a lot of problems actually go away. If you can safely parry, you can do light-light combos to safely remove rock shield charges, and if you take no damage back, you can intercept Korg with mediums, so there's no need to try and parry. Either of these also gives you more control over the fight, meaning you're less likely to dex or hit Korg's block, so fewer crowd excitement charges for him. So what are our options? The biggest one, that allows a large number of champions to be used, is a white Magneto pre-fight, Magneto House of X. This gives you a 15% damage boost, which is nice. But if you're using a hero or a metal champion, your parry stuns become passives. This is huge, as now they can't be shrugged off by Korg's signature ability. Our second option for bypassing this purify are passive stun champions. There are a few champions that will instantly replace any shrugged off stun with a passive stun. Again, passive stuns cannot be shrugged off, so you can whittle down Korg's shield using the light combos. Your three options here are OG Storm, Storm Pyramid X, and Bishop, all excellent mutants in their own right. You also have Apocalypse or Omega Red. Apocalypse reduces Purify ability accuracy by 100%, so unless Korg has some outside help that increases his ability accuracy, he cannot shrug off versus Apocalypse. And Omega Red reduces Purify ability accuracy by 10% per spore placed on the opponent. Omega Red also takes no damage back on his tentacle attacks, so that will allow you to avoid Korg's rock shield damage on your mediums and heavies. There are two synergies that allow for a similar effect. These are Sabretooth with either of the Black Panthers or Killmonger, or Professor X with Quicksilver. Professor X is the better of the two, because not only does he benefit from the White Mag's pre-fight, but also all his attacks are energy damage, meaning you won't be taking any of the damage back from Korg's awakened ability. In terms of other niche counters, we have Ghost and her easy access to light intercepts based on her phasing. This can be very good for removing Korg's rock shield charges quickly, but it does require a bit of practice and also a Korg that is willing to play nicely. If he turtles up and doesn't play into your phase, then you could be in trouble. If you're a good Quaker, Quake can bypass everything Korg has to offer, though while you are doing your initial retreats into the corner and evading, he will be going unstoppable and unblockable. Again, if you're playing Quake perfectly, this doesn't matter, he won't touch you, but something to note. When awakened, Namor reflects a proportion of the damage that he would take while striking the opponent onto the opponent. At max sig, this is 100% of that damage. Kitty takes 80% less damage while phasing and 100% less damage when awakened. Land a few parries at the start of the fight to ramp up your prowess, and you can ignore Korg's damage back. Combine that with a White Mag's pre-fight to ramp up your prowess really quickly, and Kitty can very quickly take control of this fight. Finally, any champion that deals energy damage on their mediums, or have non-contact mediums, can be used to counter Korg. You will need to be okay at baiting heavies or intercepting, so you don't need to parry, but you will avoid all the reflected damage. There are many good options here. Professor X, as mentioned above, Doctor Doom, Black Widow Clairvoyant, Havoc, Strife, and many more. Falcon and his ability accuracy will also shut down the rock field damage, as will Crossbones and his Furies. Korg does have a fair few counters, and it is possible that I have missed some, but I think I've covered the main ones. Being able to shut down his Shrug Off or Damage Back makes managing the crowd excitement much easier, and something that you really don't have to worry about with practice. Try not to dex too many of his hits, and avoid hitting his block where possible. So, Korg gains crowd excitement whenever you dex one of his basic attacks or hit his block. At 6 charges he will go unstoppable and unblockable. Korg also gains his Rock Shield that starts out of 9 charges and loses a charge whenever Korg is struck, and all remaining charges when struck by a special 3. While the shield is up, Korg will take significantly reduced damage. The shield reforms in between 11 and 15 seconds with 1 reduced charge each time. When awakened and while the Rock Shield is active, Korg will deal damage back to you on any physical contact attack that isn't a light attack. He also has a SIG scaling chance to purify incoming debuffs and gain a Rock Shield charge for each one. The best counters for Korg are champions that can counter Purify, such as Apocalypse or Omega Red, passive stun champions, so Storm, Storm Pyramid X, and Bishop, champions with energy mediums or any other niche counter I've mentioned throughout. A white Magneto pre-fight can also work for any metal or hero champion. I hope you found this useful, and do let me know how your Korg fights are going now. Feel free to comment which topic or champion you would like me to cover next. I'm open to suggestions. Thank you, and I will see you next time.